Hi, my name is Karen Brower, and this week we're painting the second owl in my owl series. On my Facebook page, Karen Brower Pearly Designs, we'll be doing this yellow-eyed Mary owl this week. And here on my YouTube channel, we're going to be painting him on a little round ornament. If you do enjoy this video, please push subscribe as it's free. Thank you so much. Let's get painting. Now, last week I went through how to prep our little baubles. We base coated them in white first, then transferred our patterns on with black graphite paper, and then we based them in. So this one has been based in with milk chocolate, dark chocolate, saffron yellow, black and grey. So once they're all been base coated in, we're ready to start to paint them. The first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to use an angle shader brush. And I've already got all my paints out on my palette that I'll be using in this piece. I'm going to come into my darkest brown, which is bittersweet chocolate. And I use Deco Art Americana paints for all my artwork in acrylics. And we're going to start to float in our shadows. So as you can see, I load up a little corner of my brush and I blend back and forth, getting that paint to go nicely through that brush. And then I'm going to come in and float in those shadows. I do a nice soft float, though I joke about doing messy floats, and it doesn't matter if it is a little bit messy because we do lots of stuff over the top. Just going to turn that down a little bit. Sorry, I had that light a bit high, and I think that you could get a lot of bounce off it. That's better. Sorry about that, everybody. All right, we're going to come back under now. It looked okay until I started painting. Coming in under the beak, under the eye. Okay. You can also see some shadow on these eyebrows. I'm going to come in the eyebrow here. And come up under here as well. Floating it in. I'm also going to come under the eye here. Up around the eyeball. Around the eyeball here. Sorry, I had a little bit too much paint on my brush then. I was taking my bracelet off so it didn't keep clanging. Okay, so I'm coming around here. Now I'm going to come with dark chocolate. I'm going to bring a bit of dark chocolate up on this top eyebrow just under here. And a bit of dark chocolate here. We're doing what you would call a bit of a side-by-side float. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of bittersweet chocolate because I do want to make this shadow just a tad darker. So even though I've got that dark chocolate in my brush, I picked up a little bit of bittersweet chocolate and just brought it down as well. I'm going to come with a bit more bittersweet chocolate onto this top of the head, and I'm just going to walk it out just a little bit further. There's my messy float. Just up into here too. While I always wait for areas to dry. So while I'm waiting for an area to dry, I'm going to pick up a little bit of zinc, which is a dark grey. I'll show you that, dark grey, bit of zinc, and a touch of black. I'm just going to mix them together. I'm just going to come and float a bit of dark shadow up on this beak. Just around the edges. I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to come in with some milk chocolate. No, we've got bittersweet chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate. And again, I'm going to float. I'm going to come and float some of this milk chocolate into the eyes. You can see I'm walking it down a little bit. I keep doing this because I like to work on while an area is drying, instead of just waiting and not doing anything. I can work on a different dry area. My techniques are often that I wash in the shadows, float them in, wash them in, bring in your shadows, and then I like to dry brush my highlights back in. Okay, so we just washed some colour into our eyes. Now my favourite brush to use is a Dynasty 200 series brush. I call it a smooshing brush. I like to come in and dry brush with this. This is a little number 4. You can get a number 6. You can also come and use a filbert if you like. Sorry, my hand's going over the top. I've got a little number 4 filbert here too. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can come and do. So I'm going to load up my smooshing brush in a little bit of bleach sand and a little bit of milk chocolate, just sort of making a colour here. And I'm just going to, holding that brush really vertical, bring in some little hairs, feathers, into his little chest here. All right, I'm going to come into that little colour again, and I'm going to come and dry brush. See, I'm doing such a soft touch. My brush is vertical. You can take the excess paint off onto towel, paper towel. I'm going to come in and just dry brush some of this colour into the, I'm just going to turn my piece here because I like to pull towards myself. Lightly just dry brushing. My brush is vertical and I'm tickling the woodwork. I'm not pushing very hard. Coming in here. And again, I'm just tickling that woodwork. Do a little bit of finger painting. Again. Tickling that woodwork. Just put a little bit of colour down. Now you can use this brush still or a fill, but I'm going to show you both. I'm going to come into milk chocolate. I'm going to push down hard. See how I'm pushing it down on the ferrule? And then I lift. So what I'm doing is creating a C stroke as I've lifted. Sort of this little C stroke. Like suction cups it in. And then I'm going to create these little strokes on the top. Now I'll show you, it works really good with the filbert, so I think we'll go to the filbert. I'm coming into that milk chocolate, I'm going to push down, spray it out, lift it up. And I've created like a little, the brush is like in a little C arc. Push down, lift. Then I'm adding these little C strokes. I'm using a number 4. I'm sort of feeling like I probably should be using a number 6, but we'll go with the 4. We're actually getting them in quite nice now. Just making sure you can see those little guys. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit of white, bleach sand, excuse me for that, bleach sand, into that milk chocolate. And again, I'm going to lift and I'm going to add some light little strokes on top of his head. I'm laying them, you see my brush is really vertical. I'm just using that little edge. And tapping them in. Dry. And I'm going to come in now with my round brush or my liner. Grab my little liner. I'm going to turn my work. I'm going to come into inky bleach sand. So make sure that you have it nice and watery, a bit inky there, so it comes off your liner brush really nicely. And we're going to add some little feathers into his little chest. Just going to add some little feathers. I'm doing this while I wait for areas to dry. I'm going to come back with some milk chocolate, actually bleach sand. Get the colours wrong today, aren't I? Okay, some bleach sand. I'm just bringing it onto my filbert. And I'm going to come in, do a little dry brush of bleach sand onto these highlight bits. Now I'm bringing in some bleach sand. here. Reload if you need to. Just soft touch again. Now I'm going to use I'm going to turn both of them so I can watch my directional strokes. And I'm going to come and start to bring in some little feathers under his eyes. Turn your work so that you're comfortable. I always say turn your work so that your hand is comfortable. Often I keep my hand in the same position, and it's more that what I'm painting on that I'm moving. Okay, I'm looking here. It looks so much lighter, but you're going to see what we're going to do. We're getting our strokes in first. A bit more light on here. Bringing in my lights. Again, I'm going to use that filbert, and I'm going to come into some bleach sand. I'll pop in some of those little C strokes. Okay, while I'm waiting for all this to dry, I'm going to come back with some bittersweet chocolate, and I'm going to float that into the eye. I'm going down in values. I like to paint in values. So coming down in those values. You can also see that we're going to come back and float some of our shadows back. So I'm going to use a little bit of bittersweet chocolate with a touch of black, just a touch. And I'm going to come in and bring a bit more shadows back up under his eyebrows here. I'm also going to come back and bring a bit more shadow onto those eyebrows, deepening up those eyebrows. I'm also going to come and bring a bit more shadow under his eye. These are all, remember, soft washes, soft floats, thin colour. We need to come back and bring a little bit more dark colour back around this eye we can. This is the bittersweet chocolate with a touch of black. And of course you're going to come and bring more shadow under these little eyebrows here, under that beak, and around. So I'm reinforcing colour. So even though I went quite light, I knew I was going to sink areas back by bringing colour back. I'm going to float some black into the eyes. I want these eyes to be hooded and shadowed in. I'm going to come back with some black. I like to let each sort of little value show through. That's why we're doing them as thin floats, washes or a glaze. Just thin colour going in. Okay, so we're bringing that lamp black into the shadows of the eye. I want those eyes hooded up into here. You can see it's thin colour, it's transparent. We're not base coating them in with black. We're not doing solid colour. It's a nice wash. Now, while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to come in with a bit of zinc. And just in this middle part of his little beak, we're going to just dry brush. I'm using a little round. Some light back into that little beak. Okay, if you need to come in with a bit of black to get right up into here, I'm just going to tap a bit of colour back, just where I want that shadow. Those feathers on the eyebrow there will be creating shadows onto the beak. I'll lighten back up that middle. Again, my brush is quite vertical and I do a really soft little touch. As I'm looking, I can see I just want to come with a bit more bittersweet chocolate and black. I'm just going to tap in a bit more shadow around that beak. This is where I start looking at where I need to enhance colour, where I need to sink back, when I want to pop forward. And I just tap little bits of colour in. I can look here with the bittersweet chocolate and black and think I want to bring a bit more shadow down into this area. I'm just tapping that colour in. I'm going to add a little bit of white to the zinc. I mean, you could use slate grey. I'm just being lazy and just adding white to zinc. And I'm going to start to lighten the middle of his beak. It's tapping that colour in. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. Just letting it everywhere dry. I can see I've got a wet spot here. So now while I'm waiting, I'm going to come back with the saffron yellow. You can use a filbert, you can use your smooshing brush. I'm just going to use my round. I'm going to dry brush the excess off, tap, tap. And I'm going to come and dry brush some saffron yellow back into his eye. Sorry, everyone, the reason that I didn't use my Dynasty is that I hadn't washed it. So now I've washed it and dried it out. I'm going to pick up some saffron yellow and bring some saffron yellow back into the eye. And this is a dry brush. Remembering that I dry brush in highlights, float and wash shadows. And you can do as many layers with this as you like until you're really happy, until you go, oh, I'm happy with that colour, and stop. It's a really fun technique to just, if you're a fiddler like me, you can dry brush, glaze, float, dry brush, glaze, float, float. Sort of as many layers as you like. Now these are little Christmas owls, so you don't have to do this part. But I mix some 24 karat gold into my saffron yellow and I dry brushed a bit of gold into his eyes. Bit of sparkle. But I mix the gold with the saffron yellow, so it's not like distinctly looking like, wow, he's got these big gold eyes looking at him. But you could do that if you like. He's your owl. Now, I was doing all this while I was waiting for lose your shadows. But look, if you lose your shadows, sorry, I'm just going to fix that bit there. There you go. If you lose your shadows, you can always come and refloat them back in. Great thing with this technique. Now, I'm going to come with a mix of raw sienna. No, I'm doing milk chocolate still. Raw sienna's for the wings, everybody. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of milk chocolate, and if you like, again, it's your little owl. You could add a little bit of 24 karat gold to it, and it's really thin. We're doing a little glaze, and I'm just going to glaze over. Oh yeah, I like that 24 karat gold shimmering in there. It's actually quite sweet. I'm going to bring some colour back. But you can see it's see-through. It's very transparent wash. Bring it back over the top over here. Oh, it looks, yeah, shimmer's quite nice. Over here. Over here. And just bringing just that little bit of colour. Actually, I like that. Now, if you need to, you can always come back with that bittersweet chocolate and just come in and reinforce any shadows that you may have lost. See, this is the fiddler in me. And I just come back and I love to fiddle. I actually really like that milk chocolate with the 24 karat gold shimmering in there. It'll be nice to do next week when we do the little barn out. Okay. So again now, I'm going to come with the lamp black, and I'm going to use my liner. And if we need to touch up your black in the eye, you can touch up your lamp black in the eye. And if we need to, I'm just going to turn my work, everybody. I'm going to come with a little lamp black line around his eye. So I'm going to do the other eye as well. Just a little thin lamp black line coming around. Just going to bring a bit more shadow into here. Tap, tap. I'm going to add some more white to my zinc, go lighter. I want this little beak to pop out a little bit. I'm going to dry brush a bit more light into the beak. I'm going to mix a little bit of light white to the saffron yellow and the gold mix. Just a touch of white to it. And I'm going to bring some highlights. I like to build the colour up gradually rather than go straight into white. Make a light little yellow and dry brush that in. little bit of the yellow, just dry brush that in. Use my finger and take that back a bit. Pushed a little bit hard. If you do push hard, finger paint it, soften it back. Now I'm going to pick up white. And I'm going to look at where his reflective shine is going to go. Opposite to where you're going to put your highlight. Look at where that reflective shine is going to go. Again, opposite to where you're going to put that highlight. Actually, well, I've got that nice white on my brush. I'm going to bring some more into that beak. I tend to just keep going back and forth if I see an area that I don't like or that I think needs a bit more colour. If I've got actually, white on my brush, I'll look at where am I going to put that white? Where else can it go? And I lay it into there. Now, where probably about 10 or 11 o'clock up here, where the pupil and the iris meet, where I'll put up my highlight. But before I do that, let's come into a liner. And we're going to pull back some little lines back here. I'm going to pick up some bleach sand with a touch of milk chocolate in it, just a touch. Depends on how bright you want it to be. You can use straight bleach sand if you like. I'm just going to add a little bit of milk chocolate to mine. You could even add the 24 karat gold to it. That would be really pretty too. And we're going to pull in some little fine feathers. These short little fine feathers just on his chest. We're just lightly putting in these little feathers. Using a little liner here. Probably should have my long liner. I probably would get more strokes with it, but it's just a little bauble piece. Nice. Then I'm going to use that colour. And again, I'm going to come with my round brush. Actually, I'm going to come with my filbert into that colour. And I'm going to lighten some of the top crescent strokes, particularly like in the middle. Just a few. Then I'm going to come and dry brush a bit more light. Onto his eyebrows. These are your eyebrows. This is your little owl. You can change his colour. You can make him as light as you like. Keep him dark. I do like that 24 karat gold though in that watery milk chocolate. That looks really, really sweet. Okay, and we lighten here as well. Just dry brush it in really soft. And again, if you go too light, we just wash back over until you actually get that you go, yeah, I really like that now. Okay. I'm going to use a little round now. Or again, you could use your liner. And I'm going to start to, I'm going to use some of the colour that's got the bleach sand with a touch of the milk chocolate in it. And I'm going to come and add some little hairs in and around. Wisp those little hairs. Wisp those little hairs. I don't use a lot of paint. I keep my brush really softly loaded, not heavily loaded. I'd rather go over it a few times and get that soft whisper colour than come in too heavy and then have to go back. Lightly wisping those little feathers around his eyes, giving him these big, long, big eyebrow sort of things around those eyes. I might come in with a little bit of straight bleach sand now and just hit the tips here with some highlights. So I'm just coming back. With some highlights along those tips. So I just want, if I want to accentuate some of those little feathers, I'm coming back with just some bleach sand. You notice they're not going all the way. It's just along that highlight edge. If I need to lighten up in here, I can bring a bit more light into here. But I'm actually really happy with that. I want to keep this chest area a little bit shadowed. Now I'm going to come in with the titanium white and I'm going to add my dot here and a dot here. And have him looking at you. Again, I look and I think, do I need to whiten his beak at all? Do I need to come back? I don't think I do. If I needed, I could come and hood his eyes a little bit more later when the white's dry, if I think I need to bring a little bit more black. I'm going to pick up a bit of that bittersweet chocolate and I'm going to bring some shadows onto my top of the gold bauble, but you can paint any colour that you like. You could also make it have glitter on. It's your little bauble. You could paint it silver. And I'm going to come with 24 karat gold and I'm going to dry brush some light and a bit of light up the top. Now, someone asked me about the back of the ornaments. I've just painted mine gold up the top with the bauble and I just did red on the back. But you could easily paint the back of him as an owl. Maybe just do this on the back of his head and you could have the back of the owl. It's really up to you what you would like to do. A bit of glitter on there. I'm adding some white shine. And then it's just like looking at him and thinking, what? Now I varnish with my favourite varnish. I like to use triple thick. I like a really gloss varnish. But you could also varnish with just a nice, the Duracoat Soft Touch varnish. Deco Art have a really lovely varnish with glitter in it too. You could put glitter over him if you like. Again, this is your little owl and you may do whatever you like with him. Put a little ribbon on him and let him hang from your Christmas tree, or you could have him hanging all year long. Thank you for joining me today. Again, if you've enjoyed this video, push subscribe, it's free, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.